time they went up against each other was the first instances that Nesty tried to shift up his play style and, play a LeBlanc. It was a LeBlanc into an Aurelia matchup with Mawan. So we'll see since Nesty has improved a lot over the course of the tournament.
That's a possibility. Let's go ahead and get into champion select. It's going to be J-Team on your blue side, Berjaya on the red, as we start things off with a LeBlanc ban actually directed toward Mawan, as well as the red side Senna.
Yeah, that's true, because just as you mentioned, we have Mawan playing for 4 games already in the whole course of the tournament, and Minji playing majority of that. So there's still a lot of mystery on what kind of playstyle Mawan does and what he does for the team. Especially, he has been shifting here and there, either assassins, melee, even a quirky mid, the first quirky mid we've seen in the PCS.
And there it is, going to be the Aphelios red side ban as well. So no Aphelios in our second game of the day. Looking over here, Enzo, he's going to be drawing a ban, though, on that Rek'Sai. And round things off, it's also going to be the Ornn being banned out by J-Team.
And that is going to be a heavy ban combo, especially we saw Enzo play a lot on the Rek'Sai, and actually forcing Enzo in an uncomfy position. So Enzo can probably decide to secure a really scary level 3, either maybe the Lee Sin, which has been fallen off in terms of popularity. But this is an open Elise. Do they give that to Berjaya Dragons?
Possibly, but they go with the Renekton, it seems to be, instead. Possibly for Rest, or maybe, Nesty, after having such an experience in the mid lane on the other side of this matchup. Maybe he's decided to pick it up. Maybe he's got some practice. Well, who knows? But for now, a Renekton getting locked in when, say, the misfortune is still up. There's a lot of high priority pickups that we've been seeing across the league. They opt in just for the Renekton. For, honestly, Rest, who his Renekton play hasn't been exceptional.
Yeah, it's true, because I think most of what people do in the PCS, they try to take advantage of a pre-level 3 Renekton and try to dive him out. But that was the strategy supposedly when you get either an Elise. But seems to me that Elise for this particular matchup has been not the priority for now. And Varus is open, so might as well pick it up.
Yeah, Varus locked in, but there is that Elise now finally here for J-Team as they get it on the second rotation of their picks. Now what do they wish to bring to the table for their final lock-in of the first pick draft? And going to be the Pantheon lock-in, likely there for Nesty in mid.
I'm pretty sure I've seen this composition before, except it was quite similar to the what Liab did way back. It was a Pantheon mid. It was an Elise jungle. It is not a Renekton, though. It was, I believe the Renekton was the one getting dived. So with this composition locked, this means Azzy will receive constant pressure from J-Team here, with Rescon and Nesty for sure.
Let's see, though, the response from the Dragons. They go ahead, lock in the Sejuani, just get a beefy front line with a bunch of CC available to her to maybe dissuade some of these dives in the top lane, like you mentioned, if it comes to that opportunity that Enzo can find a counter gank.
We'll have to see, as now that the AD carries have yet to be settled, because we're not sure whether or not the Varus is going to K2. He has been favoring the Ezreal or any other AD carries that have a safe lane or has mobility at some point, so that Chili is allowed to roam. We'll see if Mawan does play this Varus. It is going to be very scary if you're going up against a Pantheon in the mid lane. You pair that up with an aggressive jungler as well. So that's why I'm a little bit worried, but J-Team doesn't seem to be worried at all. I love their smiles right now.
They got some smiles. They're in a good mood, it seems. That's a good sign here for J-Team. As, like we've mentioned, the Ezreal, it isn't actually going to be locked in here for K2 on the next rotation. Instead, they opt to ban it out, so that likely is signaling that we are going to likely see the Varus down in bot lane for K2. Still a possibility, as now they look to secure what I would assume to be their support pickup.
Yep, Suri, as that would be actually very, very interesting, as if it does get locked in, the Tom Kench, this means a different shift in style for Chili, for sure, especially during the early game, and that would be most likely, it would be good for the Varus.
There you go, lots of safety for that Varus, likely. Now for J-Team, they gotta show what the rest of this composition is going to be. Mainly looking toward this bot lane, what they wish to try and run into K2 in Chile. As a Sivir possibly here for J-Team. We've seen it hovered a couple times. I don't think we've actually had it fully locked in, but they are going to show us our first Sivir.
This is basically press R all-in team for J-Team. So if, you know, the early game probably doesn't work, then you go mid-game full-on either to later game 5v5. And this is very exciting. This is full-blown 5v5. I'm liking this from J-Team.
Yeah, lock in that Taric for those dives. Going to drop down the ultimate, be invulnerable. That's your plan here, it seems to be, for J-Team. Requires them, though, to be able to survive the early game. So I think for Enzo, it's going to be up to him to try and disrupt this plan. As now for the Dragons, are we going to see possibly the Aatrox mid?
It's an Aatrox, perhaps, from Mawan. He did play Ezreal. He did play Aurelia. So this will really fit Mawan's play style in the mid lane up against the Pantheon.
Yeah, it's going to be Aatrox there, locked in as it gets swapped around. So an Aatrox into the Pantheon. We don't have a whole lot of magic damage on these teams. You're pretty much relying on this Elise for some magic damage. And then technically your Varus will have a little bit there, here and there. But overall, this is your brawlers coming out here in the matchup between J-Team and Berjaya, which, again, both of these squads, Berjaya, if they're able to take home the victory today against J-Team, it almost locks in their playoffs completely. They at least force tiebreakers for that final place if for some reason they fall below, if they lose every game past this one. For J-Team, absolutely vital if they're able to take home the victory. It makes it so Resurgence cannot catch up to them, that means they only have to worry about one other team placing below them.
A lot is on the line in this game, and it's going to affect the rest of the teams, especially at the bottom side of the rankings. But now, this means fight, 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 basically, for J-Team and Berjaya Dragons.
Well, we'll see whether or not we get ourselves a bunch of dives coming out from the Pantheon Elise combo like we saw when Liav ran the composition, or if it's going to be, you know, like you mentioned, press R with the Sivir Taric to run directly at your enemies. That might be the solution here for J-Team, but we're going to go ahead and load on into the Rift for our second game of the day.
And with that, we're going to be seeing our first ever Sivir in the PCS, and Lil V at that too, he has been one of the most, if not the most, consistent farmers, AD carries rather, in terms of gold generation for the PCS. And I feel like that will skyrocket even further with the Sivir pick. But now, gonna do a little dance between Nesty and Mawan. A very familiar matchup.
Yeah, the Nesty Mawan. Last time we saw Mawan was this exact matchup. I always get confused with that Aatrox skin, especially when we have like the cinematic camera. It kind of looks like he was just wearing a t-shirt running into lane, just a plain white tee. It's like day off Aatrox.
Now it's in my head. I didn't really look at it that way before you mentioned it.
Well, now he's got the color vibes. Kind of reminds me of what God of War. Oh bloody hell! I cannot remember the name now. Oh,
Kratos.
Kratos. Yeah, that's kind of what he reminds me of. Just with a giant sword, and he's a Darkin. But back to the point, when we look toward the playoff race between these two teams, arguably it's rather important for both of these squads to take home the victory. If J-Team doesn't take home the victory and Resurgence are able to find victories all the way back up, they have to play a tiebreaker against J-Team. And you take a look at the schedule coming up here, arguably I'd say this should be, I think, their easier matchup, considering how Alpha has been evolving their play style in the last couple of weeks, where they've become an unstoppable force. And then we have Machi, who's currently sitting on a 9-game win streak.
And that's the scary part. They really, really need to get this win, not only for points, but also for a boost for themselves, especially that they lost their match against Berjaya the first time around.
Meanwhile, let's see, a little bit of invade coming out here as that's going to be Hana trying to jump on in. They are able to secure the red buff, but now the rest of the team starting to collapse down here. And J-Team, Hana, he's trying to go for at least the blast cone, getting himself to safety, but over the wall, it's going to be First Blood going on over to the Aatrox as Maon also came for the collapse, and that is not the start you're looking for, J-Team.
Definitely not the start. And Enzo, suppose it's still not over. Okay, now it's over. That was... I get the rotation. You see the top lane, your enemy top laner actually being very extended. So you get level 3, and then you have a really nice gank over there with the Renekton. But unfortunately, Nesty wasn't able to join this one. And therefore, the collapse was just way easier to do for the Dragons.
And that's some good scouting coming out here from the Dragons, obviously, because they had the ward down onto the red buff. So once they saw that Hana was trying to go for it, instantly the collapse came through. And now the blue side of the map, the top side of the map, is completely dominated here by Enzo to start the game.
Actually, with Berjaya Dragons having the starts that they need, all scuttlers are actually secured by the Dragons at the moment, and therefore early control is definitely for them.
And to be honest, like, Hana's been a big influence when it comes to J-Team early on during the games. You know, obviously trying to start up the top side section of the map, whereas they just let Livy and Woody pretty much just do their own thing in the bot lane. So maybe the plan is for him to try and influence this top side of the map. We've mentioned that, you know, this Elise with the Pantheon, once you hit around that level 6, you can just continue to try and dive away, as Hana is looking to position himself toward the top lane.
There is a ward laid down on the brush, so this is going to be denied. Perfect timing on the wave crashing down towards Ozzy, and as well as Enzo nearby in case they decide to pull the trigger.
You see Ozzy just playing it safe, but again, so far this is not the start you were looking for if you are Hana. You got 3 buffed after that first death. You're half the CS currently, or jungle farm of the Sejuani. You want to be an Elise, you want to make impact early on the map, but so far, not going in their favor, as the Dragons will be happy sitting on a 1,000 gold lead to start off in the first 5 minutes.
Exactly, and it's definitely going on their favor, as a lot of control in terms of vision for the Berjaya Dragons, and they can definitely keep track of Hana, which sort of leaves the Elise pick a little bit, making it invalid at this point of the game. But yeah, it's still too early. We're still waiting for that level 6, especially for Nesty.
Yeah, and you can also see here as well, Berjaya, their upcoming matches, arguably, Nova, I think they're favored. The Talon actually, how Talon has fallen the last couple of weeks especially. I think Berjaya actually are also favoring this one. So for Berjaya, taking home the victory here should secure them the playoffs, as now we see the fight in mid lane. Enzo able to get the drag back there from now on. Another knockup is going to land. And oh no, Hana! Nesty went back in! Hana gets the repel. Nesty is able to survive. Enzo taking a lot of tower shots there, though. That's going to be the stun, but no kill going over to Berjaya, but that's going to force both members back to base.
I was a little bit worried, because when Enzo visited the mid lane, Hana was 2 levels behind at that point, and he was going to be very, very extra squishy. But good job by J-Team surviving that onslaught coming from Berjaya Dragons, which, you know, Mawan reached level 6 first, so imagine, actually, no, it doesn't really put an impact as much with the Pantheon in. But anyway, trade coming from top. I was thinking set in my brain. It was a set Mawan matchup, set Aatrox matchup in my head.
Well, let's take another look here, because again, Mawan pretty much gets level 6 off the wave, and Hana's the one that wants to make a play, but he's already 2 levels down from Enzo, so he can't do a whole lot as far as damage goes.
Yeah, especially if you're an Elise, you want to get in there in spider form and get your combo, the painful combo in. But again, because of how low, how behind in levels.
Oh, you saw it here. J-Team, they try to go for the play. That's going to be the Glacial Prison coming on down. Maon is also teleported into the fight. Unfortunately for J-Team, they are able to find one. Enzo gets over the wall to safety. It's going to be a trade of the 1-for-1. Nesty gets taken down. He secured a kill, but Maon was able to find his own and still survive.
Again, we remember time and time again with a Renekton pick, it can get crazy.
Oh no, Hana. He's going to get the repel off in time. Enzo able to get, again, another stun, and there it is. Another kill going on to this Aatrox. Rest now stuck in the jungle. It's going to be the stun available for Enzo in a second here. If Malon's able to get that final auto attack, no, it won't happen as Rest gets over the wall. But still, another kill now going in favor of Malon, who's currently sitting on all 3 kills of the Dragons.
Hana is still currently 2 levels behind, as you know, they still want to really take advantage of this Renekton pick, so sacrificing levels over presence here at top side. And we see Nesty getting the kill on Ozzy, and with that, J-Team decides to concede, but Hana wanted to lurk around a little bit, probably get the Krugs, as they've spotted, as Hana was actually spotted right there.
Yeah, you saw Malon. He does an insane amount of damage if he hits those sweet spots, and unfortunately Rest was not able to finish off the kill, so he wasn't able to trade anything back. So now that mid lane matchup is going to hurt quite a bit here for Nesty, at least. Hana as well. He's been pretty much stunted in his growth. He's going to get level 6 here shortly. And again, he is an Elise. It's not the biggest impact to get the level 6, but still those base stats do help you out quite a bit. And so far, so good, I do believe, for Berjaya, but we did see that combo that we mentioned during the Champion Select with the Pantheon Elise. We might be seeing a reoccurring event continue to happen in top lane.
Exactly, and you know, that's the reason why we see Renekton picks have been insanely popular in the PCS. But we see Chili will still lurk around a little bit. But yeah, this could potentially go out of control. But for now, there's still no kills on the side of Rest. It's still a little bit more on the...
Ooh, Enzo's going to want that ultimate back, as unfortunately it was just a little bit to the side. Nesty also had his shield up to intercept a little bit of damage, so not the end of the world. Is a nice little escape there coming out from Nesty.
Yeah, nicely done. But because of, you know, Nesty, because of Malon getting ahead early, we will expect Nesty to not make a lot of impact in the map, as, you know, after reaching level 6, because Malon has complete control over that lane. So it makes it difficult to execute the combo that we've been looking forward to in the top side, where you send Nesty either diving at bot or either diving at top.
As we go back, Enzo going to go ahead and clear out his second red buff. Take a look toward the bot side. Not a whole lot of action. Of course, it's a rather safe lane on both hands. A Sivir that's just going to continue to wave clear, and then a 80 carry with a Kench. So you're not going to see a whole lot of action. Again, though, this top lane, do we see it? As Ozzy going to use the Facebreaker. Hana is waiting towards the side. Enzo's going to show himself. Hana going to try and go on forward. Haymaker, though, comes down, gets a decent chunk of damage. There's a Cocoon, though, instantly onto Enzo. But there will be no follow-up from either side as they both disengage.
No Summoners burned, actually, even for Ozzy, still kept the flash, as J-Team decides to concede that fight. And with that, we'll see if Nesty decides to pull the trigger, because Malon is still keeping him in a tight leash, not leaving the lane, and always slowly pushing towards Nesty. So this Pantheon pick will eventually fall off, as they want to take advantage of the laning phase. But in terms of play that they can do later on, for sure, it will be valuable when you initiate those flanks against K2. But he's going to be always with Chili, so it makes it a little bit difficult to bother the backline.
For sure here is now. Got ourselves an Ocean Drake on the map. It's going to be our first one of the game. We also have Rift Herald still available. A lot of vision actually coming out from Berjaya. A lot of defensive wards, which I do like to see, especially when you're going up against a Pantheon. You want something around that pit because you're expecting that Grand Starfall to come through from Nesty. And maybe we'll see more action from him. But with the advanced vision from the Dragons, it should keep their lane safe, as I think both jungles need to take a step back, farm up their jungle, and actually pick up some of the gold, as Enzo looks to start off the Rift Herald.
This is going to be the first Rift Herald of this match in particular, especially that we've seen more of the former LMS squads either trade Dragon for a Rift Herald. So the call is quite different now, as we see both junglers at the top side of the map. we'll see if they will respond, as Rest will just concede for now.
Well, J-Team, they at least get the little bit of priority and maybe a plate here for the Sivir. Just another hit would have done it, but not enough as the stun lands back from Woody. Unfortunately for Hana, because he was already on the top side of the map, he can't instantly go down and trade for this dragon, so there is an opportunity here for Berjaya to actually deny that away from J-Team and not even give anything back to J-Team.
Exactly, and the scary part is, again, we talked about Berjaya's vision control over the course of the game so far, and it's already been 13 minutes and they still have consistent vision over at Riverside. So this really cancels out this Elise pick, and it makes it hard to capitalize on what you've settled for yourself in terms of composition.
And again, exactly what we just saw with the Rift Herald. Malon's able to get priority in the mid lane. It forces Nesty to have to clear out the wave, and he's starting to fall behind a little bit in CS as well. So Berjaya are just slowly accumulating a little bit of lead here and there in their lanes, as well as getting all the neutral objectives.
And we can see how that sorta
Oh, they're just going to force it.
Pummels down. Yeah, they're going to force it at the moment. With, you see Woody slowly marching towards the mid lane. And I guess it all comes down to that start with Hana trying to invade the jungle of Enzo, and that equal to a kill for Mawa. And then right now that's going to be a teleport just going down the lane.
And with that, K2 is able to secure the farm down in bot. And this really now, unfortunately for a Pantheon, it's never great when you don't have your first tier tower anymore, because now he's kind of stuck into his side of the map. He's not going to be able to really advance on forward, and the Dragons should be able to get a little bit of deeper vision, and it pretty much nullifies this Pantheon pick.
And that seems to be the plan for the Berjaya Dragons. It happened first on the Elise pick with a lot of vision and control, and now because the lanes are shoved out towards Nesty, which means his map presence for him to be able to make an impact in the whole map is just also canceled as well. So that's 2 picks right now for J-Team not working out in the early game.
Still, we got to see how this scales, because again, we still have the Taric ultimate, the Sivir ultimate, that's the run at you and we're going to kill you style of a composition that we mentioned a little bit from J-Team. There's still that possibility that they might just have the better 5v5, but so far, it's been a gold-favored graph for the side of Berjaya, as Han is now only going to get his first blue buff, I believe.
Well, you're right. I agree, considering the fact that a lot of the Berjaya Dragons roster, except for one, are all melee. So a really nicely placed boomerang coming from Lil V will just really chunk down a lot of the members of the Berjaya Dragons. So that could be the plan in mind once the 5v5 starts to happen for J-Team.
You see here, though, J-Team, they're going to set up their vision immediately toward the top side. They want to try and keep Rest as safe as they can, because he's already gotten himself a little bit of an advantage. So maybe they can try and snowball this Renekton out of control. Maybe they can find a good flank opportunity onto Berjaya, as it's going to be denied immediately here as Enzo and Chili push back, and K2, the bot side of Berjaya, now find themselves occupying the mid lane.
And right now, every single ward being laid down by J-Team has been dewarded by, they're going for this. Looks like that's going to be a no. Yeah, Berjaya Dragons keeps denying vision away from J-Team, so I think that's also the difficult part for this team, for J-Team in particular. With no vision, no information, they can't really press the button to initiate a fight. And Berjaya Dragons is doing a good job denying that information.
There we go. Ozzy caught out toward the side. Enzo's nearby, so J-Team are deciding not to go for the play, as the set shall remain safe for now. We did mention Rest has been able to find himself a pretty dominating CS lead already at only 15 minutes. They're looking at 40 CS above the set, but still, overall gold lead is on the side of Berjaya. And if Rest isn't involved with any of the plays on the map, that advantage that he has means absolutely nothing.
Indeed, and we've seen those types of games before on where you lock in a more top-heavy centric composition. It didn't work out so well, and then it will eventually fall off. And I really do like a lot of control by Berjaya Dragons in the mid lane, especially the control wards in the middle, because we've seen teleport flanks from before in the middle of the lane. And I think Berjaya Dragons is just extra careful that that's not going to happen at all.
Wave clear, though, of that Sivir. Means nothing's going to get pushed up here, as now Lil V has finished off his Essence Reaver, so he's kind of got that endless supply of mana, as well as like a little bit of crit chance and cooldown reduction. So the one saving grace here for J-Team is with a Sivir alone, you should be able to wave clear quite fine. If you can look to turtle out the game, that seems to be the call here, I think, for J-Team, is they've kind of missed that window of opportunity, what we mentioned with the Elise and Pantheon, where you're going to continually go for the dives because they got shut down so hard in the early game. They're pretty much having to backtrack and kind of rely now on Lil V on this Sivir to scale up, but doesn't mean they're stopping here, as again, Hana wants to try and make a position toward the top lane.
It is still on. The lane is still intact for Rest and Ozzy. Both towers are still healthy, so they do want to take this opportunity for that tiny window and get Rest going while this is still available for them.
We see there, Hana is going to go back to base. Doesn't see Ozzy coming around the corner. Oh, does delay it though, and figures something is up. But meanwhile, Rift Herald is secured once again by Berjaya, and Hana spending so much time here in top lane that they are now going to give up the second dragon of the game. Sure, you're able to maybe get a kill here. But again, it depends if Ozzy, he figures something's up. Yeah, he saw that Rest just walks out the brush, so they realize that there's likely an Elise nearby. Is going to show himself, but you're going to trade your first tower of the game for, again, now the second dragon, still in full control of Berjaya.
I think this has been a trend for most of the PCS teams on where they draft something more on, top side centric. It's totally okay for them to give up 2 dragons, as they do want to boost and take advantage of this Renekton pick more specifically. And right now, though, Berjaya Dragon still not having lost any control whatsoever. I think for J-Team, they're still trying to bank on top side, but now that it's open, it's gonna be more difficult to to have that Elise have some sort of presence, especially if they want to boost up Rest.
Well, you got to give it to them. They do have a plenty amount of vision up toward the top side of the map. 3 control wards up through the jungle, so they're gonna try and keep the Renekton safe as long as they can. But meanwhile, Maoan and K2 have continued just to farm away. You do see the carries, at least overall, for J-Team have the gold. But it's up to J-Team actually find kind of the fight. The gold lead hasn't grown, so that is a plus here for J-Team, as they have stopped the bleeding a little bit. But again, so far, it's kind of, we've drawn back into the old style of PCS that we saw in the first couple weeks of play, where it is farm away, clear it out, and then hope for that one good team fight at a neutral objective.
Yeah, it's been the trend for the past, the first initial weeks of the PCS, and it would still remain of the game would end around 32 minutes to 34 minutes. It's just one block of wave pushing, and then a big chunk at the end of just fighting every time someone revives. And that has been the usual weather for our game state. But now, Enzo moving towards top side with this Rift Herald.
Gonna force the Rift Herald, so now Rest, seeing this, is probably just going to back off entirely, not realizing it's only Maoan that's actually going to push this in. So with the second Rift Herald, that's going to be another tower taken here for Berjaya. Get some more gold onto the Aatrox, as Woody wants to roam up, but he's interrupted by Enzo. And now Berjaya maybe looking for a possible dive here. They're setting everybody up for now denying vision, but looks like that's just going to be the call there. Get the chunk. Meanwhile, bot lane, Nesty able to get some gold back in his pocket. I would have liked to see Berjaya actually try and make a play here, because they've actually hit 2 item spikes before, this Pantheon is on the other side of the map. The Renekton only has the completed Black Cleaver. He's got the 2 components of his other items, but instead, Berjaya opting to play a little bit more safe and not decide to go for a dive.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of respect towards Lil V, especially that, he does have teleport. He has 2 items completed as well. And with Berjaya, since I guess they do have a lot of control already. I guess the mindset is more of, it's like, we might lose it with the risk if we go press that button, since J-Team is definitely much stronger as a unit rather than as several parts of the roster, especially, you know, the laning phase is over.
That's the thing, though, for Dragons, is we're going to get to a point in the game where J-Team are never going to be split up again. They shouldn't be split up. If Rest is in a side lane, he's going to have a teleport he can join in onto the fight. They've kind of let it get to this point now that Lil V is going to be close to probably 75% crit chance on to the next fight. He almost has 300 CS. Like, sure, your Varus has the same amount, but in all honesty, who's going to be a little bit more impactful to DPS during team fights? It's usually going to be your Sivir once she has, you know, enough crit chance to be critting off those ricochets consistently.
Exactly. It's one of those things, either caster, auto attack, and, you know, K2 at the moment did go for more of those autos, so it's definitely going to help out later on, especially shredding through Rest and Nesty. But at this point, with Lil V, it's all about those boomerangs. It's all about those crits, as you can see.
Pantheon ultimate going to come out. They want to try and jump immediately onto K2, but immediately the root is going to land. Targ ultimate very late to the party, and that might be the engage time now for the Dragons. Not able to land the ultimate from the Sejuani. They'll back off, and a little bit of mistiming, I think, there from Woody. He used his ultimate very late when they were already going for a disengage, and it wasn't really used too much.
And now everything has been baited out.
Crits, though.
Oh.
K2 can't be that far forward. Ozzy over toward the side, going to use the Haymaker. Rest trying to get on top of that poor Varus, but he's not able to, as the Showstopper is going to come down. Malon going to go ahead, flash into the fight, able to bring out the World Ender now. It gets the reset, going to get stunned up, not able to find the knock-up once again. But you see, once they don't have that Targ ultimate, J-Team, it's so gutsy to take a fight. You do still have to note, though, that Sivir, that DPS that comes out of her when she already has 75% crit chance is absolutely insane, and almost killed K2 entirely just with ricochets.
And we saw that happen earlier, and that's the reason why J-Team, I feel like they were a little bit half and half into that fight, especially that a lot of cooldowns have been burned on opposite sides. And let's take a look at that again. It was just perfect. Look at all the crits coming from Lil V here on the side, except Lil V was already very low. So the communication was go, 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 because everyone was still practically low. But Rest had to tank a lot. That was still 5 people over him. And it was definitely game over once, you know, their front line is chunked out a little bit.
And yeah, unfortunately there for J-Team is just not having the respect. Maybe you gotta know, you know, probably we shouldn't be taking a fight here if we don't have that Sivir ultimate to use that movement speed to try and reposition during the fights. Sure, Livy's able to get some insane crits off. You already saw, he's critting the red buff nonstop there, and he got a bunch of crits onto K2 and almost killed the Varus. It forced out the heal, at least, coming out from Chile. But you saw there, once they're out of it, once they get engaged upon, without the tools of the Sivir and Targ ultimate, it just kind of falls apart.
Yeah, it's pretty much all in. It's a all-in kind of strategy, which is very high risk, high reward. But at the same time, now that I look at it, in terms of team fight for 5v5s, everyone is a check mark on the list except for Hana. Hana will eventually fall out, and I think you've brought it up a few times before. He's going to be a Cocoon bot later into the game. And if you look at the opposite side, it's a Sejuani, which will provide countless Glacial Prisons, be that tanky frontline for your carries, for your backline on K2. And I think that's the difficulty that J-Team will face, because supposedly this Elise pick was going to help Rest alleviate here in towards this game.
Yeah, unfortunately, like, it gets to the point, like we mentioned, Cocoon bot Elise, you don't really have a scaling jungler to go with your scaling AD carry. Meanwhile, Sejuani, well, she doesn't care. She's just going to be CC for the entire day. As long as she's got cooldown reduction or any kind of, you know, health, she's doing her job during the team fight. So for J-Team, it's now, do you find a miracle Cocoon? Are you able to get a insane team fight off Lil V? You put all your eggs into this AD carries basket. Sure, Rest can be that massive front line, but unfortunately, there's so much peel available now for K2, and we saw it during that last team fight. He's got the Devour from the Kench that's able to keep him safe. They got a Sejuani. They got a Showstopper if he even gets close to the carry, and Berjaya might be looking for an engage here over toward the side. That's going to be Chili jumping into the back line. Tower's going to go down pretty low. Chili, though, kind of goes on his own. He's going to be able to find himself safety, but the tower does go on down. A little bit of a miscommunication error is now Rest over toward the side. Might be looking for the flank. Pantheon Ultimate's going to come on down. Another Chain of Corruption is going to be used. Ultimate from the Tark is also there. K2 still fine. Now the stun is actually going to land, and K2 has to start kiting on back. Pantheon Shield's going to be there. Mount on looking for the engage. Once again, there's your spear, and they take down Enzo finally.
Nicely done by J-Team, and I think it has something to do with either the decision-making of the Berjaya Dragons there. I get the idea, but, you know, Chili was there as the distraction, air quote, but he was all alone behind enemy lines, and now this could be, I don't know. Han is still there. Oh!
Goes in over toward the side. Showstopper is available. 2,000 health onto the Baron. Are they going to try and go for the burst? There it is. It's going to be the smite going on over. Showstopper, though, into 3 members. Malon onto the back line now. Nesty is going to be the primary target, but they took down K2, and the Varus is gone. Malon, though, still huge on this Aatrox, but he can't find the kill. Lil V still alive. Chili wants to rejoin onto the fight. Not able to land the tongue there, as Chili now able to save Malon for a little bit longer. World Ender is going to be popped once again, looking for another reset off Hana there. And it's a triple kill for this Aatrox, and Berjaya. Malon able to salvage the Baron being taken here by J-Team.
Malon is massive right now. Cleaver, Death Stand's already completed for him, and it all started here at the top side of the map, where I think Enzo was supposed to go inside the Abyssal Voyage, but Chili went on ahead, and that's probably the reason why he was all alone in that portion of the map. And we see Rest start the fight again with this interception towards the escape path of the Berjaya Dragons. And because of the Taric ult, Berjaya really had to hesitate and press that run button instead. But meanwhile, it was too late already, as that's still 5 members complete for J-Team.
Well, you got to give it to Malon here and the rest of Berjaya. Sure, J-Team still 5 members strong and still pretty full health bars. Malon goes a little bit early, but this set can just add so much disruption to this fight. Now, unfortunately, Rest got knocked up there, so he wasn't able to position himself good, but let's go ahead and get back into the game, as now Mountain Soul on the table for Berjaya. This J-Team, gotta be careful. Chili shows himself. Enzo not able to. A nice spell shield coming out from Lil V is able to interrupt the fight, but that does mean now Pantheon wants to join in, goes for the back flank. Ozzy goes down very low, gets eaten up by the Kench. K2 still fine on the backside, and as far as now putting the damage that they need, they take down Rest. That's your key member that has so much gold on the side of J-Team alongside Lil V, and now Enzo looking for the hunt, able to get him with just the edge of the whip, and now Maon looks to finish off the kill once again on this Aatrox. He's legendary, as Berjaya now full control and look to push in the mid lane.
After Malon's last appearance, and he's finally appeared once again, he is massive right now on this Aatrox, 804. And Berjaya Dragons will definitely be happy about this one, as the Dragons have shut down J-Team's early game, crushed them at mid, and right now they're knocking towards J-Team's base.
And with that, pings are going to come back out. Berjaya look for the reset. They take down the inhibitor. It's down for the next 5 minutes. The Baron buff has gone negative here for J-Team. Let's take a look here. A nice spell shield starts it off for Lil V, but again, Targ ultimate's down. The fight is still called.
That's the thing. The Chain of Corruptions was really well placed, so the timing of that into the Taric ult was just perfect. And you did mention earlier that putting all your eggs in one basket on Lil V for dealing consistent DPS will most likely be your downfall against this, you know, this beefy frontline coming from Berjaya Dragons. And they're not only beefy, Malon's really painful right now, and together with Aussie, it just makes it even such a headache for a Sivir with no, you know, innate shred for all of these front lines.
Unfortunately, that is not a Baron buff that you wish to see. A negative 1,500, that means it was actually negative 3,000, because J-Team gets 1,500 off the Baron alone. And like that, 5 minutes until the Elder Drake being available here for Berjaya. And I'm just not sold so far on J-Team's teamfight execution. They keep trying to pop the trigger when they don't have the tools no longer available to them to try and win these fights. And Berjaya have been able to keep K2 completely alive this game. He's only died once, and he has the GA now for the next fight.
Yes, exactly, and that's 2 GAs on the side of the Berjaya Dragons, 1 stopwatch for Ozzy. So for J-Team, this is going to be a lot of resources to pop so that they'll get ready for the next fight. Big question is, will Berjaya even allow that to happen? As they're sitting comfortably in this big lead, they've got the Dragon Soul, they've denied Baron away from J-Team, and now they're finishing the game textbook styles as they're focusing here on the bot side of the map.
And the other big thing here for Lil V is if he is chunked out any point during the fight, he has to concede. He actually isn't running any lifesteal in this kit at the moment. I'm going to say he's probably running Bloodline on his runes, so he only has maybe 12% lifesteal. That's pretty much all he has at this point. He's actually having to invest into elixirs, and that's actually kind of stunted up his growth a little bit, because now he's been having to spend that extra little bit of gold just to get the lifesteal he needs for these fights, and now he's actually delaying his final items.
And that's the thing, it's just going to be even more painful once the next fight comes for J-Team. And with Berjaya Dragons, there's really no magic threat on the side of J-Team, so they can just funnel their resources to build defensively against the Sivir, and therefore rendering sort of the Sivir in an awkward situation, especially that she's the only consistent damage dealer in the side of J-Team.
So back to the mid lane we go. We got 3 minutes on the Elder Drake. Baron's going to be joining us in about a minute and a half for Berjaya. Full control still through this mid lane. A minute 50 on the inhibitor for J-Team. Good note here is Rest does have his GA available. So he can look to try and dive into the back line, maybe try and catch out K2, but there's just so much damage. And on top of that, having the Mountain Drake shielding when you're looking at an all-in team fight like J-Team is, it might end up hurting you. That's going to be the ultimate popped immediately, and that might be just the call on the side of Berjaya, realizing, all right, Rest is caught out. He's going to go into stasis. Sure, he's got the Targ ultimate. He's just going to resurrect, and he's just going to get put back down into the ground. As like that, Berjaya are able to find a quick pickoff off a messy execution from J-Team.
And now the question is, okay, Berjaya Dragons will probably go Baron time at the moment. That's 40 seconds on the clock for Rest before he responds. And meanwhile, that's still 2 minutes for Elder Dragon, so there's not a lot of exchange that JT could do in the map at the moment, and that's going to be shredded quite fast for the side of the Dragons. And J-Team, Rest does have teleport, but right now they haven't really found the best entrance of the fight, and Rest with the Renekton is obviously already falling off.
And like that, unfortunately, J-Team can't even get anything back off that Baron as Ozzy was able to sneak himself over toward the side and forces Lil V to have to pop the ultimate.
Yeah, pop the ultimate, so therefore the strong engage was used for disengage coming from J-Team. And you saw, despite the crits, everyone is just really tanky from the side of the Berjaya Dragons. They're that far ahead. And again, we mentioned that it's really difficult to just rely on Sivir for the consistent DPS against all of these tanky frontliners.
And like that, it's also going to be the top lane inhibitor now broken. If Ozzy wants to, he can just try and push that side lane, have the teleport available for the Elder Drake fight that now is impending in about a minute. J-Team, they try and get some vision down while they still can, but the pings have already come out for Berjaya as they're going to head toward the bot side of the Rift.
And Elder Drake will be the next objective for the Dragons to take. Seems to me, you know, they're still back at the more textbook style sort of strategy as they want to consume every single thing in the map before marching down towards the base of J-Team.
So there you go. Berjaya decide to just try and track in through the jungle, deny the vision. We saw exactly this setup before. This time though, Ozzy will be fine. K2 over the wall as well. Look at that bloody shield. He's finished off his Bloodthirster now too, on top of the Mountain Drake. Soul, it's a little bit disgusting that your Varus has a 700 health shield.
It's so difficult too, because there's 3 stopwatches on Berjaya Dragons on top of Guardian Angels. So
and
that is... Yeah.
Lil V went ahead, he invested into an elixir. He spent over 1,000 gold on temporary stats rather than finishing his last item. He's been sitting on a BF/. He actually traded out for the pickaxe earlier. And like that, Berjaya are able to go for this Elder Drake. K2 is able to shred this apart, so is Maon. And with this could be the nail in the coffin for J-Team if they're not careful. Rest over towards side, able to get to safety. They use the Sivir ultimate immediately to escape, but they won't have that for the next impending fight.
Shirelius and as well as the Sivir ult. That is maximum speed for J-Team to escape their almost team fight in their impending doom against Berjaya Dragons. As you know, they've invested already on their Glacial Prison, but Berjaya Dragons has their Elder Drake already secured on top of a Baron buff that is about to expire in a few seconds. But Berjaya Dragons, they're very far ahead.
Here we go. Next siege in, looking to crack open the last inhibitor tower of J-Team's base. The smite is there from Hana, so he's able to interrupt it a little longer. Elder Drake still there for Berjaya. As here comes the next push, and that might be the call, whether or not J-Team try and stop it. I don't think they can. It's a massive gold advantage in favor of Berjaya. Sure, you have the, crits coming through, but even then, K2, he took so much crits, he's only down to half health because of the shielding from the Mountain Drake, as well as the lifesteal off his Bloodthirster.
There's the shield again, and you're right, on top of the Bloodthirster. Look at the lifesteal. It's just really not going to be much for Lil V. It has to be bursted down. You want to try to eliminate K2, but now they're marching towards his base.
And there is 3 inhibitors popped. J-Team have to make a final hold here, but I think it's too late. Berjaya going to start sieging in. You can see the damage coming out from K2 already. It's a slow bleed here, it seems. Lil V tries to step forward. He's trying to clear out waves. It is a Sivir, but they can only hold on for so long. Maon, there's the put trigger immediately. The face breaker's also there. Lil V, showstopper all the way into the back line. Ozzy goes. It's a bit of a messy fight here. J-Team still alive, but here comes the re-engage now from Berjaya as they go into stopwatch immediately. And Hana, he's floating in the air. He's going to get taken down. The Elder Drake buff executes their targets instantly, and that is going to be the Nexus Tower falling. K2 wishes to step forward, has his full life back again, almost has 1,000 life shield with the Mountain Drake and the Bloodthirster. The next wave gonna push in. Nexus Tower is gonna fall. Rest is trying to make his hero play. He's trying to prevent it, but unfortunately, they are inevitable as Berjaya continue forth and look to secure a slot in playoffs, while J-Team are facing the possibility of falling through the standings.
What a very clean game from the Dragons. They must feel really good after that fight. And, they've really shut down J-Team from start to finish. So it was just a complete... I don't know what to say. It was just a complete cut-off from every single thing against J-Team.
Well, we've seen this a couple times before, where if a team's early game plan doesn't go to plan, they say, okay, we have an AD carry that scales. We don't have a jungle that scales, but we have an AD carry that scales. And then, I'll give it to Lil V. He farmed his, he had close to 550 farm before 40 minutes. Okay, Lil V, we get you farm. I'm also not going to let him let go of the fact that he spent 1,500 on temporary stats when he could just finish his final item. I'll get to that another time, but overall, it's come down to that point where Berjaya were able to just completely interrupt the game plan of J-Team. I would have maybe liked to see Berjaya try and be a little bit more proactive to finish off the game, but overall, J-Team now have to face the real possibility of falling down through the standings and having to play a tiebreaker against Resurgence.
Yeah, it has been a tough game for them, especially right now. They aren't really doing so in terms of rankings, especially that they only have a few games left in the whole tournament for the regular season. But yeah, I think it came down to relying a lot on Lil V or relying a lot on Rest to take off. It was more of the typical plan A, plan B kind of thing. For this though, I feel like if Maon didn't get those 3-0 before the 10-minute mark, they wouldn't have much of a problem coming into these fights. But Maon was already 8-0 at this point of the game, so he was hard to shut down. The heals are just so thick at the moment, so there's not a lot you can do with this Aatrox pick at this point of the game.
No, unfortunately, even with, I think they had the Executioners there for the Sivir, but still, it's just not enough. He was so big at this point, and it ends up with a triple kill for the Aatrox.
Exactly, and that was the plan, though. You're right. It was more of team fight comp, except for one single pick, which the Elise pick was supposed to be only for that laning phase to help Rest get huge in these team fights, but it didn't happen, and therefore Lil V had to shoulder a lot after the the next 15 minutes of the game, and it was difficult to watch. But Berjaya Dragons had a really clean game, and Mawan, after not being present for a while, after Minji has been playing majority of the games, it's really nice to see him take off in this particular match.
Yeah, and for the Dragons, with Mawan now being able to show, hey, yeah, if we need to play bruisers in mid lane, that's something we can do. Of course, though, there's still plenty of League of Legends still to come, and our next game, it's of course going to be Alpha taking on Nova. So we're going to go ahead and take a short break. You know what's going to happen, though. We're going to come back, and we'll have some more action for you guys.